Hi guys. So I decided to do a video just on general tips in Bangalore, and a lot of these would apply generally and some of them are city specific. Um, and you can ask me any questions if I forget something. So the first thing is where I got my SIM card. A lot of people have had trouble getting SIM card, and I actually did as well at first. So at first I got a SIM card from the hotel I was staying at. They got one for me, but it stopped working in a few days. So I would not recommend getting it from your hotel. Um, but I eventually got one from the Vodafone store on Church Street, so near MG Road and Cubbon Park area. Um, there's a Vodafone store, and that's a pretty touristy area, and that's why I went there. And they will give you a SIM card if you're foreign. The reason why it can be hard is because they have this thing called Aadhaar, or I'm probably saying it wrong, in India. It's like a kind of identification that only Indians have, and most places will only give you a SIM card if you have that. And another problem is that they'll often send someone to verify your ID or your address. But these people didn't. They just gave me it and it's continued to work. It was only 585 rupees for 3 months with 1 gig of data a day, which is like a lot, which is about 11 or 12 Canadian dollars. So it's very, very cheap. But the problem is getting it. So I would recommend not even trying anything else and just going to that Vodafone store on Church Street, because otherwise you could end up wasting a lot of time and being disappointed. And of course you need an unlocked phone for that, and you would also need proof of your address in India. So actually you just have to write it down. They didn't verify very thoroughly there. And you also need a passport-sized photo of yourself. And I'm pretty sure that's all I needed. And obviously, you need to bring your passport with you, and they'll photocopy the visa and the passport for you there. Yeah. So I used mostly Uber to get around and the metro. I didn't use that many tuk-tuks, or auto rickshaws is what they call them here. And the reason for that is with Uber, I found that I didn't have to try to explain the address to the driver. I found that a lot of the drivers didn't understand English, and then also, since I'm not very familiar with the landmarks in Bangalore, I didn't really know how to explain how to get where I wanted to go. So when I used Uber, I could just put in the address and the driver would put that into their Google Maps. So it didn't really matter whether they could understand me or not. I would still get where I wanted to go. And most of the time I take the metro when I go somewhere, and I've been trying to pick mostly Airbnb places that are fairly close to a metro station. The Anugraha Medicals, that's what you put into Google Maps if you want to find the place, is really close to Hossahalli metro station, and I found that that's a lot more convenient and simple and a lot less expensive, but Uber is also cheap. But it's a lot calmer to take the metro, I find, than the car, and it's a lot less hot. So I've just been finding that's pretty simple. And the metro, for the longest time, I was just buying each token individually, like an individual little coin token thing that you put in the machine to open the gate. That was really inconvenient because you have to have correct change or close to correct change, and it would take up all my small bills, and that can be a problem in India, is not having the change. It's a little bit different where people expect you to have the change, and not all the vendors or people working at places like that will have like a float or whatever where they can make change for anything. Sometimes they don't have it. And then you have to wait either until someone else buys something or until someone runs and gets change. So it's kind of inconvenient. So anyways, eventually, just like a month before going home, I realized that you don't need any of that Aadhaar business to get a Metro card. You can just ask them for a Metro card. One of the girls that works there and saw me every day said, okay, you need to get one, right? Because I had been struggling with the change thing. And it's just inconvenient to have to wait every time. So you can get one of these swipe cards that, it's the same in Vancouver actually, that you just swipe the card and it opens the gate. And then it will automatically deduct the amount for the distance that you've traveled. So it's different based on distance here. And the Metro is very inexpensive, but you still even get a 15% discount on that if you use the card. So it makes it even more cheap, but the main thing is that it's a lot more convenient to do that. And yeah, I've been finding the Metro my preferred way of getting around, but if it's somewhere far away from the Metro line, or if it's dark, or if I just don't feel like it, then I will take an Uber. And occasionally a rickshaw, but I find that it's too stressful to try to negotiate and everything. So the next thing would be food. That has probably been my second biggest struggle here. So food, I haven't had any problems with food poisoning or anything like that. But I find it so inconvenient somehow. I guess because at home I'm used to cooking and having stuff, and here I've found that a lot of the food is unfamiliar. And I make a lot of excuses, but I just don't know, I just don't really want to cook in the same way. However, I've been getting these ready-made meals. I wish I had one close by. Anyways, these meals which you can heat up, they have like a package inside. And you just heat them up in boiling water for 5 minutes and then eat them. That's been some kind of decent food. It's Indian food, but I usually get a rice one and a non-rice one with like vegetables, or there's even some that have chicken in them. But basically it's just a pouch. You heat it up in the pouch and then you eat it. I know it creates a lot of garbage and I feel bad about that, but at the same time, it's better than having to eat at a restaurant all the time, I've been finding. Most of the restaurants are good. You can go on Zomato and find something suitable for you. Usually it's between like 300 rupees and up for a meal at a restaurant. So that's in Canadian dollars, $6. Probably $4 or $5 American dollars, I guess, and up. That's just the meal without a drink or anything. So it's not expensive to eat out. It's just like a little bit inconvenient to have to go out and do that all the time, every time you want to eat. And eggs are easy to find here. I was eating boiled eggs for a while, but then I got really tired of them. But another patient gave me these boxes of protein bars from home, and that was really, really helpful for the times when I was too lazy to go out and get food, or just didn't get the chance. So I would actually recommend doing that. I would recommend bringing a lot of those kinds of bars, whatever kind that you like. There's so many different kinds. I feel like that would help to reduce the inconvenience of going out and getting food. The fruit here is amazing and very easily available. So I've been eating quite a lot of fruit. And I've been eating like mangoes, pomegranates, bananas are everywhere. So those are all things that you peel anyways. And if you wash things in good filtered or bottled water, I don't think you have to worry about eating fruit, and I would recommend eating fruit. Yeah, and I found the two best areas, in my opinion, if you're looking at places to stay, are MG Road and India Raganar. Um, those are kind of the two most tourist friendly or Westerner friendly areas. Um, I stayed out far in the outskirts sort of for a while, and the place was nice. You could get a nice big apartment, but it was so far away, and I found I was going to MG Road all the time anyway, so eventually I just started staying closer to MG Road, basically, and India Raganar. And I've been staying on Airbnb. The best place I found was called a Zen Oasis in the heart of the city, and the host was Pooja, Pooja. If that's available, I highly recommend it because that was a really great place. And I've stayed at 3 other places. They were all fine, but that was by far the best one. And yeah, in terms of safety, I haven't been going out much at night until about 9. I think it's fine. It gets dark at like almost 7 o'clock, and at least at this time of year. But I think it doesn't change much here. And until about 9, I'd say, if it's like a populated kind of area, people are still out and about and doing things at 9. So I don't have too much of a problem walking then a short distance. But I don't go out much after it's dark. And generally I'll take an Uber after it's dark, unless it's just early still. But I don't even go out late at night. Like, there's a party scene in Bangalore. I have not participated at all, just because I feel like when you're foreign and you don't know the area and you stand out, just not the greatest idea. Which brings me to my biggest struggle here, has been just not knowing what to do with myself. Because even though I've spent time with other patients and I've done some fashion shows, I got asked if I wanted to do these fashion shows while I was here, so that's been amazing. I've done 2, but there's been fittings and That's kept me a little bit engaged and met some local people that way and had some good different experience. So I've had like an overall good time, but on a day-to-day basis, waking up in the morning and just having so little that I had to do has actually been really hard. So I've been able to self-reflect. I've been doing a lot of journaling and like sorting out my goals in life and like taking the chance to kind of step back from my life and look at it from afar, you know? But that's the thing I would recommend is like, keep in mind how much free time you're gonna have. I mean, I've been sort of working on this YouTube thing too a bit, like all these little pieces put together, reading books, but on the whole, I've spent a lot of time just like on Facebook and like probably pretty unproductive, or just wandering around, or I go to coffee shops pretty much every day and just read at the coffee shop. So that's one thing that I would consider. Like, I've been not traveling around India or just in Bangalore this time, so I've had an overall great time. But I'm just saying that the biggest struggle has been having so much free time, which sounds crazy, but it's true. Like, I worked that fashion show day. It was like a 12-hour day, which is what I usually do at home, and it was a huge relief. So that's how I've started feeling about working, is like, I want to work. That's one thing to consider. And some people have been able to work in Bangalore because a lot of tech companies and bigger companies have an office here. So if you can work here and you're not too sick, I would recommend it. I would recommend coming up with goals and intentions that you want to do here, other than the Fistula, if there's something that you want to do as a project, or if you're with somebody, great. But if you're coming alone, just be prepared that like the days can sort of stretch on and on, which can be a great thing for self-reflection And honestly, sometimes that's really good for you, and I've had to kind of find it within myself to keep myself entertained or whatever. So I'm not saying it's a bad thing, actually. I think it's probably a good thing overall. But that's been a struggle, something that you have to kind of face. So with a week and a half left now, it's all been good. But that's just one thing to keep in mind, which is kind of obvious. If you're coming alone for a few months, you're going to meet people, and hopefully you do. I'm sure that you will. I mean, I did. But then generally from day to day, just be prepared to have a lot more free time than you're probably used to. And there's some great bookstores here, also on MG Road. And yeah, like it's up to you to decide what you want to do with this time. Yeah, and it's a big city. I could have engaged so much more and didn't. So I'm just saying that's one thing that I've felt. Yeah, and basically I've just been drinking bottled water. I don't always feel great about creating so much garbage, but that's been my solution to the water thing. And yeah, overall it's pretty easy to live in Bangalore. Like, they have all the modern stuff that you would expect in a city. Like, the roads can be broken up at points. They'll tear out a road and put it back together in like a week or a day. So there's a lot of like that going on. But that doesn't really interrupt your life very much. The people are really amazing. And I just had a tourist visa. And that's what I can think of so far that might be helpful just about the general experience here, and particularly in Bangalore. Those are the areas I'd recommend staying close to. And the things that you might want to focus on before you leave. I don't know. Yeah, so that's some sort of feedback about my experience. I've had like the best medical treatment ever here. I literally go every day, and the nurses take care of my wound every day for months. Like, it's incredible. And I think that's why it's healing so well. And yeah, this honestly is definitely the best choice that I could have made. And just let me know if you have any questions about the treatment or about staying in Bangalore or traveling to India. And because I know more than this, but I can't really think of it right now. What you might want to know. So just let me know. And thank you for watching. Okay, bye.